All right. Start off by saying Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Tonight's lesson will be called Quickened. Tonight's lesson will be called Quickened. Give them the definition for quickened.
We have the word quickened, and it means made alive, revived, restored, saved.
So quickened means made alive, revive, restore, save. That's what the word quickened means. Quickened. Quicken. Restore. All right, which is made alive. When you restore something, you brought it back to life. All right, and once you bring something back to life, now it's what? Saved. It was dying. So it's like someone that's on their deathbed in the hospital, and they're on their way out, and then all of a sudden something happens to where they come back. All right, they've been saved. They have been restored. Let's start off in Ephesians 2:1. So tonight's lesson, I want to go into quickened because we are in a world and we are now in a time to where if you're not being restored right now as we speak, it's going to be too late here pretty soon. The door is going to be closed off for a lot of people when it comes to being saved. So if you're one of those people that's waiting, kind of waiting, well, I got time waiting, you're going to be caught on the wrong side of the fence. I've been telling you guys for a long time that the battle is at hand and Satan has already picked his warriors. He's picked his warriors from the youth. And all of us in here at one point in time was on Satan's side. But you've been quickened. The Most High has revived you in a way to where now you know right from wrong. He has revived you now to where you have pulled yourself away somewhat from the Babylonian traits. But like I said the other day, you have to continue to pull yourself away from the Babylonian traits. You can't just pull yourself away from the Babylonian traits just a little and say, I'm gonna do this much and think you're good, but then yet still do this. You have to pull yourself away completely from the Babylonian traits. And once you completely pull yourself away, now you can say you've been quickened. Verse 1.
We're in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 1. And it reads, and you had he quickened, who he were dead in trespasses and sins.
So he says, people that were dead in trespass and sins, he had quickened. All right? And that was you and I at one point in time. We were dead in trespass and sin. Sin have completely taken over us. Let's go to 1 Peter 3:18. So now that the Spirit has came in and revived you, the Holy Spirit has came in and revived you to put you on the right path to save salvation. Now you have a chance to where you can receive salvation. 1 Peter 3:18. Go ahead.
We're in the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 18, and it reads, for the Messiah also had once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to the Most High, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit.
So the Messiah also had once suffered for sins. All right? The just for the unjust. All right? That he might bring us to the Most High. So this is, once you're restored and once you're revived, you've been brought back to the Most High. See, living in this world, which is called America to us, we are in America, but living in this world, you have been pulled away from the Most High. You don't know who the Most High is. Okay? All you know is the ways of Satan. So now that you have been quickened, you will suffer from the change you made. So once you've been revived and you change from this world, you're going to suffer a little. All right? So now that you're trying your hardest to do well, now you're trying your hardest to change and give up that sacrifice, people will give you grief. Wherever you go, whether it's friends, family members, co-workers, instead of praising you for your change, they give you grief on what you have become. Why? Because now your light will shine on their sins. So now that you change and start following the Bible and doing the ways of the Messiah, when you're around them, it makes them say, they can see wrong in themselves now because of your change. So now they give you grief. They don't want you around. They tell you you're in a cult. They tell you all these other things because now you have made the sacrifice. And don't nobody want to be corrected, especially through an example of someone who used to sin with them. You used to walk around and do the same partying and same sinning with them. And now that you're coming around and you made the change and the sacrifice, and you giving up Satan's ways to walk after the ways of the Most High, now that's shining on them to change. They like, man, I don't even want you around. That fast, that quick, and that easy is how they give you grief because of your change. Go to 1 Peter 3:11. So just go up a little. So people don't want to be corrected through your examples of how you have changed. Read it.
We're still in the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 11. And it reads, let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensure.
So we are to eschew evil. We are to show people their evil doings. No matter who it is. Ezekiel, calm down. No matter who it is. We are to show them their evil, whether it's cousin, brother, mom, friend, uncle, co-worker. Wherever you are at, you are to show them the wrongs in what they do. Read it again. Verse 11. Read it again.
1 Peter chapter 3, verse 11, and it reads, let him eschew evil and do good.
So show them his evil. By you showing someone their evil, you're doing good. Go ahead.
Let him seek peace and ensure ensure.
So once you show someone their evil, then maybe they will change and start doing good. All right? And then at the same time, when you show someone their evil, you're doing the works of the Most High, which is good. Verse 12.
Verse 12. For the eyes of the Most High are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Most High is against them that do evil.
So it says, Ahaya, his face is against you if you do evil. No matter what kind of evil it is. See, that's the problem too in this world. People try to justify what evil is themselves. Instead of just following what the scripture say. The scripture say this is evil. Then some people be like, nah, well, that ain't that bad, so I can do it. No, it's evil. And if you do it, the Most High says his face is against you. Verse 13.
Verse 13. And who is he that will harm you? If ye be followers of that which is good.
Who's going to harm you? Who's going to harm you because you have now made the change and the sacrifice to do what is good? Who's going to harm you? But that's the problem. So many people feel like if they go share with a friend or a family member that they are changing for the good, that individual is going to harm them with the words or talk smack to them or tell them, hey, who you learning that from? Or it says right here, and who is he that will harm you? If ye be followers of that which is good. So if you're doing which is good, so be it. So I don't care if my mom don't like my change. She don't like my change, then oh well. Her words or her lips cannot harm me. Verse 14.
Verse 14. But if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye.
So if you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye. So you gonna have to go through some suffering. Once you make that change, once you've been quickened, once you make that change, then you're going to suffer some things. People are going to come at you. They're going to talk about you bad. You're going to be treated a certain way. So you have to now suffer for righteous sake. But happy are ye. You still stay happy. You still be happy. Go ahead.
And be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled.
So it tells you that people's going to come with terror. These friends that you once thought were friends, these family members that you thought loved you, once they see the change in you, they're going to come with terror. Your spirit has been revived and restored back to the Most High, and now they're bringing terror towards you because of your change. Verse 15.
Verse 15. But sanctify the Most High power in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear.
So be ready always to give answer means don't close up with silence when someone asks you a question about what's going on with you. Someone said, well, what's going on with you? You've changed. You wear a scarf on your head now all the time. Girl, what's that about? What's up with them long skirts all the time? Don't be scared to answer that question. Don't be scared to let them know about your change. All right? And when you do it, when you answer it with meekness and fear towards the Most High. All right? You don't fear them, you fear the Most High. So when you answer the question, you answer it as if the Most High is standing right next to you, waiting on you to reply. But you always have an answer for someone. Don't be one of those people when someone finally does ask you, well, why are you doing this or what's that change? You're like, oh, it's just no big deal. You try to get off the subject and get to something else because you don't want to talk about it because you know the moment you start talking about it, they're going to try to clown. Look at her, because that's what's going to come. They're ignorant. These people are ignorant, so they don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand the change that your spirit has been revived and it is now actually at a happy state. And that's why they clown and that's why they talk about you, because your spirit is at a low state. So it has no other reason but to clown because it hasn't been saved. Verse 16.
Verse 16. We're in the book of 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 16, and it reads, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in the Messiah.
So like I said, when you come around somebody with your change and they see it in you, and you're an example now of the Most High, they speak evil of you, evildoers. And it makes them ashamed of who they are. It makes them ashamed because they see you doing right now, and now that light is shined on their sin to where now they are ashamed of what they're doing. And now that they are ashamed of what they're doing, they want you to leave. And as long as you're around, they're going to talk to you and give you terror. Read it again.
1 Peter chapter 3, verse 16, it says, having a good conscience.
Keep a good conscience no matter what.
That whereas they speak evil of you.
Keep a good conscience once they start speaking evil of you. Go ahead.
As of evildoers. They may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in the Messiah.
So now they're going to find a way to twist up your words once they ask you a question, and then you give them the answer. They're going to find a way to twist up your conversation in the Messiah because they are ashamed in what they're doing. And you try to show somebody some scriptures on why you're doing what you're doing, and then they're going to twist up the conversation because of them being ashamed. So since they're not doing right, they're going to twist the precepts up to where it don't make them look as bad because they're so ashamed. I know I done come around many people that does that. You try to show them something in the scripture, they're like, well, nah, that's not exactly what that's saying. Because if they read it for what it said, the light is bright on their sin. So they try to switch it around to where, nah, it's not. That's not what that's saying. Verse 17.
Verse 17. For it is better, if the will of the higher be so, that ye suffer for well doing, than for evil doing.
So as long as you're doing the will of the Most High, you will suffer for doing right. All right? Rather than for evil doing. Because guess what? There's two ways to suffer. You can suffer like the Messiah by doing the works of the Most High. Because if you do the works of the Most High, you're going to suffer from the evildoers giving you grief. Or you can do evil and suffer from the Most High. So there's two ways to suffer. So that's why it says that you can suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing. All right? So you have to do the will of the Most High. And by doing that, is keeping his precepts. So it tells you right here, for it is better if the will of a higher be so. So you have to do the will of a higher in this process of being revived. When you're being revived, in that process, you have to do the will of the Most High, and doing that is keeping close and learning these precepts. Go to Psalms 119, verse 93. Psalms 119, verse 93. So in order to do the will of the higher, you have to learn these precepts. Point blank. You got to study to show thyself approved and learn these precepts in order to follow his will. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Psalms 119, verse 93. And it reads, I will never forget thy precepts, for with them thou hast quickened me. I am thine. Save me, for I have sought thy precepts.
So David says, hey, save me because I have sought thy precepts. I have followed thy precepts. In verse 93 says, I will never forget thy precepts because with these precepts, this is what's quickened me. This is what has revived me. Through the precepts, I have been revived. Through the precepts, I follow the will of the Most High. And through these precepts, this is what's giving me a chance to be saved. Verse 95.
Verse 95. It says, the wicked have waited for me to destroy me, but I will consider thy testimony.
So the wicked, they just sit around and wait to destroy us. They know who we are. But Satan has already put the destruction out there for you and I. Everything that you do here on this world is set up for failure in the eyes of the Most High. And Satan has masked it as something beautiful or something fun. So everything that you think is fun or beautiful is actually destruction. All right? But David says, now that I know the wicked is waiting to destroy me, I consider thy testimonies, which is thy commandments, thy laws. All right? I consider those. When they are waiting to destroy me, I go follow the laws. I go follow the commandments. Ephesians 2:2. So you have to be very careful. Satan is waiting to destroy you every opportunity he gets. Every opportunity he gets. Especially once you've been revived, especially that you've been restored to the Most High, Satan is licking his chops. He can't wait. He got evil waiting for you every time you walk outside. Every time you wake up, it's there waiting on you. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 2. And it reads, wherein in time past, ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
So when you walk after this world, you was an enemy to the Most High. So as long as you walk after this world, you are an enemy to a higher. So where in time past you walk according to the course of this world, to the pattern of this world, to what this world has to offer, to what this world do. So before you was revived to the Most High and restored, you walk after the course of this world. Just like your women. Before you start following these precepts, you will wear short skirts, you will wear high heels, you will wear makeup. That was after the course of this world. But now that you follow the precepts like David said, you've been revived and restored back to the Most High. And now that you've been revived, now you try to do what's right to save your soul. So that's why you cover your head. That's why you wear your skirts. Because now you have the conscience. You remember where it says, having a good conscience in 1 Peter 3:16. So now you have a good conscience on what's right and what's wrong. So now you're doing whatever it takes to receive salvation. Same with the men. Same with the men. We know what's right now. Okay? There's no reason to be wearing True Religion jeans. All these different FUBU shirts and Echo shirts and stuff like that. No, I would rather be plain as day. All right? As long as I'm not worshiping an image, I'm fine. But America's taught us to go buy all these name brands and different things to where you're worshiping now. All right? Colossians 1:21. So when you walk after the course of this world, you're walking after the prince of the power of the air. Who is the prince of the power of the air? Satan. Actually, hold your spot right there so we can precept who the prince of the power of the air is. Read Ephesians 2:2 again, so we can break that down real quick.
It says, wherein in time past ye walk according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
So the prince of the power of this air, people are walking after him, and now the children are disobedient. When you follow after the prince of the power of the air, you are a disobedient child. Let's precept the prince of the power of the air. Let's go to St. John 14:30. St. John 14:30. Go ahead.
In the book of St. John, chapter 14, verse 30, And it reads, hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me.
So this is when Yeshua was talking to the disciples and letting the disciples know this is basically is going to be our last conversation. Because hereafter, I'm not going to talk much more with you. And after this, the prince of this world cometh, and nothing in me will be in its prince. So this is what the Messiah told the disciples. He says, they're coming to crucify me. This is going to be our last conversation. And the person that comes after me that's going to take over, nothing to me is going to be in him when he takes over this world. So the prince of the world is talking about Satan. Colossians 1 and 21. So that's who the prince of this world is when it's speaking of the prince of this world. It's talking about Satan. And as long as you're walking after the course of Satan, you are a disobedient child to a higher. You can't walk after the course of Satan and then still call yourself a child of the Most High. You just can't. You have to make a choice. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 21, and it reads, and you that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now hath he reconciled.
So it says, you have now been reconciled. At one point in time, you have been alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works. So as long as you walk after the course of this world, you have wicked thoughts. Alright? Whether if it's a thought to have revenge, whether if it's thoughts of lust, whether if it's thoughts of anything, it's a wicked thought. Alright? But you have been alienated. Alienated from the Most High means, alienated means to be separated. You have removed yourself from a particular group. Read it again.
Colossians chapter 1, verse 21. And it reads, and you that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now hath he reconciled.
Give them the definition of reconcile.
We have the word reconcile, and it means brought into friendship from a state of disagreement or enmity, made constant, consistent, adjusted.
So reconcile means adjusted. What's the adjustment? You've been brought into friendship from a state of disagreement. Alright? And what's the adjustment? You no longer walk after the course of this world. You now walk after the ways of a higher, to where now you have been brought back into friendship with a higher. You've been quickened. You've been revived. You've been restored back to a higher. So now that you've been quickened and reconciled, now you've been brought back into friends with a higher. The Most High no longer disagrees with you. See, when you was walking after the course of this world, walking after the prince, walking after the course of the prince of the power of this world, a higher agreed with your movements. He no longer disagrees with you because you're no longer alienated. You're no longer enemy. You've been reconciled. You have been brought back to him. So now you can relate to his words. Now you can relate to what his commandments are. Now he says, hey, come on in. But as long as you walk after the course of this world, you're enemies with a higher. James 4:4. So now that you've been brought back into friendship with the highest, you have to make all the proper steps from here on out. The highest giving you a chance. He's restored you back into him. Now from here on out, you got to make all the proper steps to keep that friendship there. You don't want to bring the friendship back and then now he's disagreeing with you. This is not your normal friendship or relationship to where every now and then there's an argument, then you make up. No, there's no more arguments. There's no arguments and there's no disagreements. James 4:4. Go ahead.
We're in the book of St. James, chapter 4, verse 4, and it reads, Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of a higher.
So an enemy is the opposite of friendship. That's what enmity is the opposite of friendship. And it says, know ye not that the friendship of this world is the opposite with a higher. So if you are friends with this world, you are enemy of a higher. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of a higher. So let's take a second with this precept. So how are you friends with this world? All right, by doing what this world has to offer, by liking the things that in this world makes you a friend of this world. All right. If you love this world and you love your life, then you are a friend of this world. But if you hate this world and you hate living here, you hate this life, then you're a friend of a higher. And so now you can't just say, all right, I'm no longer a friend of this world. I don't like this world. But then yet, everybody you hang around is a friend of this world. It don't go like that. You can't say, I'm no longer a friend of this world. I don't like this world. But then 90% of the people that you hang around with is a friend of this world. They do this world. So let me break it down to you clear. I say it all the time. Y'all say I'm blue in the face as if the scriptures have no purpose. That's how people look at it. The scriptures say once you've been quickened, you are to pull yourself away from anybody else that ain't trying to do what you're doing. I don't care who it is. Best friend, best cousin, mom, dad, boss, co-workers, kids. The kids old enough and they fight you and they don't want to hear this. Hey, hey, call the other part. Hey, come get this joke. This is just real talk. So if they love this world and they want to keep participating in this world, and as long as you're friends with them and you're cool with them, you are friends of this world, which is an enemy of a higher. St. John 17:13. I know the scriptures hurt now. Listen, sometimes you just rather not hear them. Because guess what? You as an individual that's trying to change for the Most High, when you hear these scriptures, shines a light on what you're doing wrong also. That's your reproof. That's our reproof. We get our reproof through these scriptures. It's a reminder. Because as long as you stay friends with people that are friends of this world, sooner or later they're going to drag you back into this world. That's why the Most High says separate yourself. Sooner or later, that friend that you're friends with, or that relative that you're still cool with, is going to do something that's going to make you sin. They're going to drag you back in, and they're going to do something and have you do it with them, and it's going to make you sin. And before you realize, you're going like, oh man. John 17 and 13. Go ahead.
We're in the book of St. John, chapter 17, verse 13. And it reads, and now I come to thee, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. Verse 14. I have given them thy word, and the world hath hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world.
So the Messiah says, I have given them thy word. I have given this world my word. And the world hated them. He says, hey, I tried to come and give the world my word, and they hated it. Because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. So he says, my word, my Bible is not of the world, so they hated it. And not only did they hate it, they hated me. So the same with you. The same with you. The moment you start pulling yourself away from this world, people are going to hate you. And if they don't like what you're saying, this is so all right. So people are like, well, how do I know who's a friend or not? If you can't go speak the words of the Most High to someone and they allow you to speak and they hear you and they tell you, hey, I don't want to hear that, then this is someone that's not of a height. Okay? This is someone that is still friends with the world. He said, I have given them my word, and the world had hated my word. And verse 13 says, and now I come to thee, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. So he says, I tried to give them what they need to receive joy, but they hated it. They didn't want to receive my words, which will give them joy. What's their joy? The materialistic things that this world brings and gives to them. That's what they love. James 4 and 5. We already read 4 and 4 of James 4 and 5. So this is why you're to pour yourself away from these individuals, because the same words that makes you excited, the same things that you read in this Bible that makes you excited, he gave it to them too, and they hated it. They read, listen, they're not retarded. They see the same words, they see the same precepts and scriptures that you read, that made you change, that gave your spirit joy, that they reject. In James 4 and 5, this is what they think. Read it.
We're in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 5, and it reads, do you think the scriptures saith in vain? The spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy.
Do you think that the scriptures saith in vain? Vain right here means to no purpose. So people think that the scriptures have no purpose. When you try to give them, read them scriptures, you trying to show somebody something, you be like, well, let me show you in the Bible. I don't want to hear that. That don't mean nothing. How many times have you heard that? When you try to go to somebody and you try to talk to them, you're like, well, can I show you in the Bible? No. The Bible has no meaning, no purpose to them anymore. All right? And the spirit that dwelleth in us lusts to envy. So like I said, so when you continue to be friends in this world, you are an enemy to a height. All right? The friends of this world, they walk after Satan. They are disobedient to the words of the Messiah. Let's go back to Ephesians 2:2. So the friends of this world are disobedient to a higher. So if you're friends with someone who is disobedient to a higher, what does that make you? You're disobedient. And how are you disobedient? Because the Most High told you to leave that individual alone, and you're still dealing with him. Listen, if you continue to deal with someone who makes a mockery out of you when it comes to this Bible, and you continue to deal with them, you are being disobedient to the Most High. Point blank. There's no excuse. But everybody has an excuse why they got to continue to deal with that individual. I know my cousin don't want to hear me every time I try to talk to him. He clowns, he makes this, but I still got to hang out with him because it's my cousin. And he my boss, so I got to go to work. But find a new job then. Find a new job then. If your cousin is your boss, and every time you bring up the words of the Most High, he tell you not to do that, and he don't want to hear it, and don't bring it around, find a new boss then. That's simple. Or you got a baby, and you say, "Bro, I take the kids to my mom because I have to." What? What for? Do your mom support what you're doing? Can you go in your mom's house and give her a lesson and she'll listen? Because if not, then same thing. I'm not to be around this individual. And every time you go around them, it's disobedience to the Most High. Well, I have to be around my mom. No, you don't. Okay, so you have to be around your mom? All right. But what about when your mom's in the place of torment? You got to be around her now? When she's in the place of torment for not following after the words of the Most High or after His laws and commandments, you going to be wanting to be with her then? So guess what? That's where you're going to be. Being disobedient to the Most High, finding a reason to continue to walk after these people and continuing reasons to follow after these people, which is friends of this world. And when they wake up in the place of torment, guess what? You're going to be right there. Still attached to them because you could not detach yourself from these people when you had the opportunity to do so. Ephesians 2:2. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 2, and it reads, "Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience."
So the course after this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, this world has taught you to want. So in this world, everywhere you go, people want. I want that. I want this. Ah, that's fresh. Lusting after everything that walks by them. So these are the things that the world has taught you to do. The world has taught you to want. I need that. The world has taught our spirits to lust after everything that walks by us. Every other thing that walks by you lusting after it. All right, whether if it's a flesh or whether it's materialistic. The world has taught you to party, being drunk, high off of something. Nowadays you can get high off of so many things. So now you're partying, you're drunk, you're high, worshiping gods through clothing. So many people don't even have a clue that all this name brand stuff that they wear and stuff is a worshiping of some type of God. It's called image worship. That's what it's called. Go to 1 Peter 4:3. Let me show you how it's called image worship. But this is what the world has taught you to do. Why? Because when you was young, if you didn't have something name brand on, what happened?
Clown.
You got a clown. You couldn't come to school. If a parent did try to keep these kids' souls safe and put them in basic clothing and basic shoes, they would get clowned. Go to school, and if you didn't have some fresh Jordans on or a fresh name brand shirt or something on, the kids would clown you. It was a programming. All the way from kids to an adult, it's a program. Especially adults. You go to work, and there's people, you got co-workers, you gotta look fresh. I used to the night before, I'm gonna kill him with this one.
Kill him with this outfit.
I'm gonna kill him with this outfit. You at nighttime just getting the outfit ready. And that's what America has programmed us. You can't look normal or basic. You gotta look fresh to the teeth, even as a kid. 1 Peter 4:3. Go ahead.
We're in the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 3, and it reads, "For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. When we walk in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries."
So it tells you that for the time past of our life, many suffice, which is equal. So we spend so much time trying to be equal to the Gentiles. That's what it just says. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. So we spend most of our life, suffice means equal, we spend most of our life trying to be equal to the Gentiles. We want to do what they do. Whether if it's wrong or not, we want to look and be like the Gentiles. We don't want to look like a righteous person. We don't want to look like a Hebrew Israelite. Nah. Who wants to wear a mitre around with fringes? Who wants to have their head covered at work with the skirt on? And flat shoes. We want to look like the Gentiles. I need my nails done, I need my makeup on, and I need some high heels. Man, I need to be fresh cut right now. Give me my wave cap to cover my crown so I can get them waves. Give me them fresh pair of Jordans. This is what we've been taught to do. We want to be equal as these people. And it says, and to be equal as these people, you walk in lavishness. So you want to look lavish, you want to look fresh. That's what lavishness means. You got to look fresh. Lusting after any and everything that's material or flesh. Excess of wine, that's drunkenness or high off of something, impaired. All right, and abominable idolatries. Break that down.
We have idolatries, and it is G1495. G1495, and the word is idolatria, and it is spelled EIDOLOLATERIA, and it means image worship.
Image worship. Idolatries means image worship. So that's like I said a few minutes ago. What's image worship? The name brand clothing that they have taught you and I is fresh. So when you get these clothings, the Jordan sign, the Nike signs, FUBU, Tommy Hilfiger, all those things, you're worshiping gods. It's image worship. And these is what America has taught you and I to do. And if you're not doing this, you're not cool. Alright? Well, guess what? I don't want to be cool anymore. Alright? Y'all can talk about me all you want. I'm gonna wear nothing but plain things everywhere I go. It's gonna be just plain. Plain white, plain black, plain whatever. Alright? And if you want to talk about me, oh well. I won't be sharp cut, I won't be clean cut, no nothing else no more. Men gotta wake up and realize that they have taught you in order to get a job you gotta be clean cut. It's feminine. When you really look at it, a man that has a mustache that skinny, they teach you to trim your mustache that skinny, cut your size, no beard, no nothing. So when you walk up on a guy, you got a smooth, clean face like a woman and a really skinny mustache, and you kind of looking like, you kind of feminine. When you really think about it, they taught the men to look feminine versus looking manly. There's a reason why we grow hair on our face. It's to look different from y'all. Y'all got the smooth face. We're not supposed to have smooth face. It's crazy. It's crazy. A woman should not even want to lay and cuddle with a man, and their faces are smooth and they're rubbing together and they so smooth. You should want some dirt on you. Some rough patches. Unless you know you got a man sitting next to you. That's like me laying up with a woman and she got some dirt on her and some rough patches. And I'm like, nah, something ain't right. Why do you feel like me? I don't get that up off me. Should feel the same way. But nowadays you got women that got mustaches and stuff and don't care about it. Waves in their hair. So it is. It's the world we live in. 1 Peter 4:1. Go up 1. Go up 2. Go ahead.
In the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 1, and it reads, "For as much then as the Messiah had suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin."
So it says we have to be the same mind as the Messiah. For as much then as the Messiah has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise. That means you have to do the same likewise. You have to suffer. How do we suffer? By giving up this world. By giving up this materialistic world that they taught us we need to live. They taught us you need 2 cars. You need a big house. You need fresh clothes. You need cable. You need all these things to live. No. If you start sacrificing and giving these things up and suffering, because that's what it is. Once you give it up, it is a transformation. You suffer from not having all those things. But we have to do it the same way the Messiah did. The Messiah didn't have all this stuff. For as much then as the Messiah has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. So now that you're suffering from not having all that stuff, you have brought yourself away from sin. But as long as you got all this image worship, all these clothes with all these images on them and high heels and fresh cuts and hats and stuff, you're sinning. But now that you've given all that up and you're suffering from not having it, you pulled yourself away from sin. Verse 2.
Verse 2. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 2, and it reads, "That he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of a higher.
You don't need that life. Okay, that's what it's saying. You don't need that life. No, you don't no longer live that type of lifestyle no more. All right, and the further you get away from that lifestyle, and the further you get away from not getting away from that lifestyle, so the more you stay with that lifestyle, the further you get away from salvation. That's what I'm trying to say. So the longer you keep that lifestyle, the further you get away from salvation. And that's what people don't understand. You have to give it up now. And the longer you hold on to it, the further you pull yourself away from salvation. Verse 2 says that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to lust of men. So now that you have time to pull away, don't waste no more time doing that type of stuff. All right? Matthew 7:21, you have time to receive salvation. And the only way you're going to receive salvation is by making the changes that you need to make here in the flesh. There's not going to be one man that continue to be friends of this world and walk after the images of this world and worship those images and still receive salvation. You have to change it now. All right? So y'all got to get on the ball. Don't think, well, I can hold on to this and I got time. No, you have to change. And I'm gonna hit it as much as the Spirit tell me, because I know many of us that's still part of this group still hangs with people of this world that don't even want this word. Now I can see if you hung out with somebody and they would allow you to still feed them here and there. Yeah, they wasn't making the changes, but they was hearing it and they was allowing you to feed them and they was accepting it, but they just wasn't making a change. Some people you gotta plant the seed and keep watering. So if you got somebody that you're around and you planted the seed, but they haven't changed, but they are allowing you to water it every time you come around, they are allowing you to bring the word, then you keep that person around, because one day they might change. But if you got people around that just absolutely don't want to hear it and don't care, it's time to put that Chris Brown music on and get away from that person. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 21, and it reads, not everyone that saith unto me, Yeshua, Yeshua, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven.
So if you do the will of the Father, you shall enter into the kingdom. All right? You have to stop doing the lust of men. 1 Peter 4:2 says, don't do the lust of men, but the will of a higher. And the will of a higher is salvation. That's what the will of a higher is. If you're following and doing the will of a higher, the doors of the kingdom will be open to you. Matthew 12:50. And what's the will of a higher? You have to learn these precepts. Isn't that what David just showed us earlier? You have to learn thy precepts. You have to follow thy precepts. And then you will learn the will of a higher. And once you learn that will, then the kingdom of heaven will be open unto you. Matthew 12:50. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 50, and it reads, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
So the Messiah says, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, he is now my brother, or she is now my sister. So if you're his brother and you're his sister, that means you're going to end up where he is. But you got to do the will first. And the stuff we're talking about tonight is part of the will. What's part of the will? What's the main thing of the will? Is being obedient. You have to submit yourself to the Most High and be obedient, and that starts you to doing the will. Go to Romans 12 and 1. Yeah, Romans 12 and 1. You have to submit yourself to the Most High and do His will. You can't do part of it. If the scriptures tell you to do something, you gotta do it. And don't do it on your time, and don't do it your way. Romans 12 and 1. Go ahead.
In the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 1, and it reads, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto a higher, which is your reasonable service.
Mm-hmm.
And be not conformed to this world, but ye be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High.
So part of this will is you sacrificing this world. All right, you got to sacrifice this world and make it acceptable to the Most High. And once you sacrifice what's part of this world, then He will accept you. That's what your reasonable service is. Our reasonable service is we are born into this world to where, like I said at the beginning of this lesson, you are on Satan's side. You are part of his army. But your reasonable service is to wake up, realize you're on the wrong side. All right. Now you have been restored back to the Most High, reconciled, and been brought back to Him as a friend. And then once you do that, you sacrifice everything that you've been taught that was good for you. You sacrifice it and you give it up. And now you no longer conform to this world, which is followers of this world, copycats of this world. And you change your thinking. Your thinking pattern becomes different. That's what it says. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of a higher. So these are the things that you have to do. All right. 1 Peter 4:4. So it's not an easy task. I know I get up here and I talk, and I know it's tough. I know it's tough for some people. You know. But guess what? Once you realize the importance of salvation, it's no longer tough. So that's an excuse. People are like, well, it's hard. It's hard to change all the way. It's hard to give that up. Okay, well, you ain't realized the importance of salvation. And you one of the people to where you're not going to have no oil for your lampstand. Because you have the oil for your lampstand when you truly realize how important salvation is. It's ready to go. And since it's ready to go, you stay ready. Spiritually, everything. You stay ready. You don't come out. You don't run out of oil. So this, I'm going to use it as this. So when you come out of spirit, you didn't run out of oil. And when you're out of oil, you out here somewhere doing the most. Just acting up. Instead of going right back to the store to get the oil. No, I got time. I'm gonna be haughty. I'm gonna act up. I'm gonna be ignorant for a minute. Huh? He on his way. I didn't think he was coming so soon. It's too late. You got to stay ready. You got to stay ready at all times. All right? 1 Peter 4:4. Go ahead.
We're in the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 4, and it reads, wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you.
So now that these friends that you have pulled away from, and now that these family members that you have pulled away from, and you tell them you no longer want to celebrate holidays, you no longer want to do those things, they think it's strange of you. They looking at you funny like, who are you? That's what it just says. Wherein they think it's strange that ye run not with them no more. You don't want to run with us no more? You don't want to eat this turkey on Thanksgiving no more? So they're looking at you crazy now. They think it's kind of weird that you don't want to be like them no more. Wherein they think it's strange that ye run not with them to the same access of riot. Now they speak evil of you. Verse 5.
Verse 5. Who shall give an account to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead? For this cause was the gospel preached also to them that are dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to a higher in the spirit. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging.
So it's just going to break down a few things on how you should be. All right, verse 7 says, but the end of all things is at hand. So we are in the end times, you guys. We are. And now that you're in the end times, you have to be sober. You have to watch unto prayer, so you got to keep prayer. Above all things, you have to have love. That's what charity means. You have to have love among yourselves. Love one another. Love your brother. Love your sister. There shouldn't be no hate. We don't got time for it. There's no time to dislike somebody. There is no time to be looking at another brother like, man, I'm my brother, man. Or looking at a sister like, there's no time for it. Relationships. There are no time for bickering and arguing over stupidity. I'm going to be mad at him for the night. I'm going to be mad at her for the weekend. There's no time for it. We are running out of time. And if you are spending your time doing this, you're losing out. You're losing out. For love shall cover the multitude of sins. So the more love you pump out towards one another, the more love. You can't just have love towards what's yours. I'm going to have love towards my family, my kids, and my husband. No, you got to have love towards everybody. Everybody. And the more love you have towards everybody, the more of your sins get covered. But if you're one of those people that just love what's in your circle, what about the rest of those sins that need to be covered up? There's a multitude of sins. Verse 9. Verse 9 says, and you got to have hospitality without grudging. Verse 10.
Verse 10. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good servants of the manifold grace of a height.
Good stewards.
Good stewards.
Go ahead.
Verse 11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of a height.
So if any man speak, let him speak these scriptures. So if someone comes up to me and they ask a question about the Bible, I'm going to pull the Bible and talk. I'm not going to talk from my heart. If any man speak, let him speak the oracles of Ahia. Go ahead.
If any man minister, Let him do it as of the ability which Ahai giveth, that Ahai in all things may be glorified through the Messiah, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. So be it.
So the Ahia has given every man an ability to speak his word. Don't you try to be like somebody else. Don't try to be like somebody else when you bring the word. He's giving you your own talent and your own way to go on doing it. Be yourself. Verse 12.
Verse 12. Beloved, think it is not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
Listen, it's not a strange thing when things happen. When you're going through some things and you're going through a fiery trial and things are getting rough, don't look at it as something strange. Oh man, I'm always going through some bad things, man. This is bad. This is weird. No, it's not. Don't think that some strange thing has happened to you. No, this is what you're supposed to go through. You gotta go through this suffering. Go ahead.
Verse 13. But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of the Messiah's suffering, that when the glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy.
So partakers. So it says, but rejoice. So when you're going through some things, rejoice. And as much ye are partakers of the Messiah's sufferings. Partakers means share. That's what partakers means. You have to share the sufferings that the Messiah went through. The Messiah went through a lot of suffering, and we got to share those same type of sufferings that he went through. And when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceedingly joy. All right. So the suffering that you go through gives you obedience, and that's what you have to understand. A lot of people don't understand that when they're going through some things, they forget the purpose of what they're going through. A lot of people going through some things, they start talking stupid. Here we go again. I'm always going through this. I'm always broke. I'm always this. I'm always that. You think something strange has happened to you. That's what the scriptures just said. Instead of rejoicing and saying, hey, I appreciate this. My brother, the Messiah, went through this. If he can go through this, I can go through this. Hebrews 5 and 7. And that's how you got to look at it. That's how you got to look at it. You're going through some things. It's a trial. You're being tried. You're being tried to see how you're going to react and what's going to happen. Don't get put through something and then start acting stupid. The Most High is putting you through something. He's trying to teach you how to be obedient towards him. So if you get put in a certain situation, don't act stupid. You don't know what the Spirit is doing. The Spirit is, for example, the Spirit might, in a household, the Spirit might come to the husband. The wife might do something that the Most High don't like, and the Spirit might come to the husband and say, act like this towards her. And I want to see how she gonna act. And now the wife, she can either submit herself and take the reproof and humble out, or she can be like, oh, you act like that again? Oh, whatever, I'm gonna act like this then. And now you cause this big old division, and you're like, what's going on here? And I was like, who's learning from this situation? Because in a household, in order for the woman to learn, it has to come from the husband. So if the Most High tells him to be, so if the Spirit of Rock comes to him and tells him to be a certain way to teach the wife some obedience, but if she don't get it because she sees, oh, you're acting like that towards me, you're gonna be that way. What's being learned? Like, what? Are you serious? And the same thing with the brothers. You doing something wrong, and one of your brothers, because now the Messiah says, hey, go talk to the brother and tell him, like you said, he ain't even wearing the slip no more, he's naked. The slip is gone. Go tell him the slip is all the way gone. He's naked, and he be like, whatever, I'm cool. You serious? We all see that you're naked, and you won't even let nobody talk to you and tell you what's up. The reproof gotta come from somewhere. The Messiah is not here in the flesh, and the higher is not here in the flesh. So they can't come talk to you and tap you in the flesh and say, hey, you're doing wrong. So the Spirit's got to come through somebody to tell you, hey. And sometimes it might not be what you want. It might be a little standoffish. And since it's standoffish, that might be the way to get your attention so you can learn. And you gotta understand that's how it is. You wanna know how many times these brothers come to you like, man, you was a little standoffish yesterday. You was a little. They told me many a times. Hey man, you was, I don't know. Someone's probably bugging me. But when something's bugging me, do I always bring it to your attention? I bring it to their attention. I might it might bug me for that day, and then the next morning I'll be like, hey. And they're like, yeah, we can kind of tell. Yesterday you was a little standoffish. So same thing with your wives. If your husband's a little, I don't want to hear it right now, hey, and he might treat you a certain way, it might be in order for you to realize something is wrong so you can go over here and fix it and change it, humble out. And once he sees the humbleness, now he says, oh, she learned. Now let me go talk to her a little more. But it's kind of hard if he's trying to show you something to the Spirit and you and don't get it. You can't be like that. We can't be like that. You have to suffer and go through some things mentally, spiritually, to bring you to obedience. Hebrews 5:7. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 7, and it reads, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him, that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered.
So the Messiah had to suffer some things. And even though he was the son of the Most High, he had to go through these things in order to learn his obedience. And by him learning his obedience through the suffering, what did it do? Verse 9?
Verse 9. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all that obey him.
So he became the author of eternal salvation. This is how he received salvation, because he endured the things that he was suffering, and it taught him obedience. So the same thing with us here on this earth. You have to suffer some things and go through some things to teach you obedience if you want to receive salvation. And whether it's something you like or not, you might not like what you're going through. You might not like the reproof. But you have to go through it and endure it. And once you endure, you have joy that you might have joy that you even have someone to give you that reproof. Because you can easily be with a knucklehead or be around someone who don't even care about you. Brothers, you can be around someone that don't even care about your well-being and just let you fall and don't even come to you and tap you on your shoulder and tell you that you're naked. Sisters, you can have a husband that don't care about you, that's a drug dealer, that's a whatever, and is feeding you drugs every night and trying to get you drunk and taking you out and just damaging your soul. Versus having someone that's trying to give you reproof and correct you. It can be the opposite. So you should have joy that you do have someone that cares enough about your spirit to reproof you. 2 Corinthians 1:5. You gotta take advantage.
2
Corinthians, my fault. Hey, 2 Corinthians 1:5. What's somebody gonna say? I had about 10 looks. That was kind of crazy. But you have to have the whereabouts to even just thank the Most High that you have someone that's in your corner that cares about your spirit just as much as you do. All right. 2 Corinthians 1:5. Go ahead.
We're in the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 5, and it reads, For as the sufferings of the Messiah abound in us, so our consolations also abounded by the Messiah.
So consolations mean comfort. All right. For as the suffering of the Messiah abound in us, so we have the same sufferings as him is in us. So our consolation, our comfort also abounded by him. So our comfort comes from him. Verse 6.
Verse 6. And whether we be afflicted, it is your consolation and salvation.
So when you've been afflicted and when you're going through suffering, you're also being comforted. All right. The Messiah is, when you go through the stuff, he's going to come and comfort you. But and whether we be afflicted, it is our comfort and salvation. So the suffering that you're going through is what's giving you the opportunity to receive salvation. You have to go through this. There's not one person that just live life smooth and calmly and receive salvation. No, you have to be afflicted and get suffering. Go ahead.
Which is effectual in the enduring of the same sufferings which we also suffer. Or whether we be comforted, it is for your consolation and salvation.
So it tells you right here, whether you be comforted. So you're going to be comforted through these afflictions. All right? But it is your consolation and salvation. This is salvation, ladies and gentlemen. If you want salvation, you should be thankful for the affliction and the sufferings that you're going through. Whether if it's in your home or whether if it's at work, Most High is going to give it to you one way or another so you can go through it to teach you obedience. Verse 7.
Verse 7. We're in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 7. And it reads, and our hope of you is steadfast, knowing that as ye are partakers of the sufferings, so shall ye be also of the consolation.
So as long as you are partakers of the suffering, share. Remember, partakers mean share. So as long as you're sharing the sufferings that the Messiah went through, you will also be comforted. All right? 2 Timothy 2 and 9. We're down to the last few precepts. 2 Timothy 2 and 9. So don't be one of those people that say, hey, I'm going through this again. I just don't know why I'm always going through this. Or why just always complaining. Nah. Thank the Most High, because you have to go through this if you want to receive salvation. You have to endure these times of affliction. That's how important salvation is. All right? Go ahead.
We're in the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 9, and it reads, wherein I suffer trouble, as an evildoer, even unto bonds. But the word of a higher is not bound, is not bound. Therefore, I endure all things for the elect's sake, that they may also obtain the salvation which is in the Messiah with eternal glory.
So we have to endure all things. All right? You have to endure all things that come your way. It's because it's coming, but you have to endure it. And as long as you endure all things, you may also obtain the salvation which is in the Messiah. Because he did. He had to endure it all. All right? Psalms 119 and 50. So times are going to get rough. All right? And when they get rough, you're to endure it. You're to have joy. I say it all the time. You're to keep peace. Don't lose your mind. You're like, oh, well, I'm behind on this. Oh, I don't have this. Oh, I don't have that. The Most High, He knows the next meal you're going to eat. All right? He knows the next outfit you're going to wear. America's taught you, oh, well, it's Tuesday and you don't get paid until Friday and you broke and you're doing bad. Nah. He got you. You might not know where it's coming from or how it's going to happen, but He got you. Psalms 119 and 50. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 50, and it reads, "This is my comfort in my affliction, for thy word hath quickened me."
So the comfort in the time of your affliction is now the word. So when you're going through some things and you've been afflicted and you're suffering and now you need comfort, where do? You go to the word. You go to the scripture. And when you go to the scriptures will restore you. It will revive you. That's what it just read. In the time of your affliction, in the time of your suffering, and you need comfort, you go to the word. And the word will restore you and revive you back and give you that life again. When you're down and out, things are bad, things are wrong, just pick up the Bible or pick up your notes, and it will give you that boost of energy. All right. Last precepts of the night, Ephesians 2:11. So that's how you fix that. When things are going wrong, things ain't going your way. But that's the thing, though. It ain't about your way. I hear people all the time, man, today is a bad day. Things ain't going my way. It ain't about your way. That's the problem. You too busy trying to get things to go your way, and you should be going in the way of the higher. You can't walk in your own footsteps. You got to walk in His footsteps. And if you walk in His footsteps, then things might just be all right. I used to tell y'all all the time when I first got into this truth, my prayer every day for about 6 months was to ask the Most High just take my legs from me, cut them off, to where I couldn't even walk in my own steps no more. Take my legs from me to where it makes me walk in His ways, makes me walk in His steps. Ephesians 2:11. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 11, and it reads, "Wherefore, remember that ye, being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who were called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without the Messiah, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope, and without a hire in the world."
So it says, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh. So at one point in time, we all were Gentiles. At one point in time, we all were Gentiles until we found out we were Israel. So until someone knows they're Israel, they are Gentile. Until someone starts following the Spirit the right way, they are Gentiles. How do we know it? It says it right here. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, because y'all followed after the Gentiles, y'all wanted to be like them, so therefore you were a Gentile. Verse 12. That at that time ye were without the Messiah. So one, we was out the Messiah, so that's what made us a Gentile. Two, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Commonwealth means citizenship. So two, being aliens from the citizenship of Israel. So when you don't know you're Israel and you don't follow the Messiah, you are a Gentile. Strangers from the covenants and the promises. So remember, in Romans 9 and 4, he says Israel, the promises and the covenants was given to them. All right? Having no hope and without the Most High in this world. So it tells you that the Most High is not in this world. All right? And the Gentiles follow after that. So with that in mind, we'll close it out right there. So before you wake up to the truth, before you find the Messiah, before you find your citizenship that you are Israel, you are a Gentile. Even though you are Israel, you are a Gentile until you realize and know that you are Israel. And how do you find out that you're Israel? By being quickened, by being revived, by being restored, by being saved. So So don't let no one out there tell you it's not important to know who you are. So many people are like, well, it ain't that serious to know that you're Israel. You don't got to know all that. Scripture just said it right here. You are a Gentile, and you've been aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, citizenship of Israel. That means you have to know who you are when it comes to being Israel through the Messiah. And if you don't know that, you are considered a Gentile. And as long as you are a Gentile and you don't know who you are, you can't be saved. All right? So that's why you have to work on reviving yourself right now. And that's what we're doing as a group. And that's what we're doing as a people. That's why we come together. That's why it's good to fellowship. Like sisters, I really like the fact that y'all got together last week and took the kids out, able to spend time. Because the more y'all spend time with each other, the more it makes y'all not want to be with them people out there. But the less time y'all spend time with each other, then guess what? Y'all gotta do something. So if y'all not spending time with each other, guess what y'all spending time with? People out there. So y'all need to do more events like that all the time. All right. Thanks to Sister Rachel. Sister Rachel, that's probably like her third time where she's came in and says, hey, I got tickets to this. I got this. I got that. She can't be the only one trying to figure out things for y'all to do. That's probably like maybe her fourth time coming with a thought to say, hey, I got this thought to where the sisters can get together. Why is it always just her? Rest of y'all can come together and say, hey, let's do something. I got this. Let's do it. Even if it's just taking the kids to the park. Y'all have to understand, the more y'all spend time together, the better for yourselves. Y'all should want to do stuff with each other once a week or whenever time be it or fits it. See, the brothers, we got a good opportunity. We work with each other, so we see each other a lot. But then at the same token, we've been talking last week like, hey, just seeing each other at work ain't working. That's what we've been talking about. So through the Spirit of the Most High, hopefully He opens up some doors to where we can start hanging out a little more on the outsides too. All right? But the Most High has blessed us to where we can at least work together. We pulled ourselves away from that to where now we are together working to where we can keep each other girded in the scriptures all day long and hedged up. We're around each other so we can protect each other. The Most High did that for a reason. He's got us working with each other so we can keep that hedge over each other to help each other. And so the more you sisters are around each other, the more y'all can help each other and bounce information off each other. You gotta understand the importance of that. So with that in mind, we'll say Shalom. All praise to the Most High, and let's pray it out.